Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity, where we look at data from the season for the NHL Nashville Predators and make comments upon it. I'm your host, Preston Proctor, and I hope you enjoyed the 2-week break. We had the Four Nations thing. No sense going over that. I'm not going to congratulate Canada. Not a big fan of the format. Not a big fan of fighting. And so it was really disgusted that the major news after the first Canada and U.S. game was how great it was that there was all those fights. So great. The fighting, not skating, not exemplary hockey. The great thing about the game was the fighting. Really? Is that what hockey's about? Is we only playing hockey for fights? Really? There's another sport out there that takes all the, well, there's a couple of sports actually, but if you're such a big fan of fighting, why put up with watching a hockey game hoping a fight breaks out when there's MMA, there's boxing, all kinds of sports out there where people are beating each other up, and you don't have to, and it's going to happen. That's what it's all there for. So I recommend maybe you switch sports. Anyhow, the Nashville Predators are back in town. Hopefully they remember where the stadium is, and maybe the opponents won't. But the Predators are back in town. They are playing 2 games this weekend. It looks like most of the teams in the league are playing back-to-backs. Maybe all the teams. I didn't look that far, but both the teams that we're playing in this back-to-back, the Colorado Avalanche tonight and the New Jersey Devils tomorrow, are playing back-to-backs as well. So I guess that kind of evens it all out, 2 weeks off, and just get everybody back going. And by the way, if you're planning on watching the game live, or if you're going to the game, both games this weekend are at 5 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock here in icy Nashville. Yeah, don't show up at 7 because you'll have missed 2/3 of the game. About 2 hours, probably right at the end of the second intermission. So don't do that. Okay, our postseason watch. 54 games in, 28 games left. We have 45 points. Need another 48 to make an estimated 93 to make a wild card game. And the simple math on that says that there is 4-game wiggle. So 1/7 of the season they can afford to lose. So 4 games, they can afford to lose 4 games out of 28, which would mean they would win 86% of the games from here on out. So I think we can call it. And just be done with Nashville, at least, being part of the postseason. Well, I guess the postseason active hockey playing. I guess there will always be a postseason, and the team will most likely be doing something during it. Watching the game or something, but the postseason does happen. I did my analysis at the break, the top, just kind of running through it real quick. In the Atlantic, the top 3 teams are still the same top 3 teams that have been the top 3 teams since the middle of December. They kind of swap places a little bit. Well, Florida and Toronto swap places between 1 and 2. Tampa Bay has been solidly in the 3rd position. In the Metropolitan, it's Washington, Carolina, and New Jersey, and it's been Washington, Carolina, and New Jersey. the whole time. Washington's always been on top. Carolina and New Jersey are one of our opponents this weekend. Swap places, usually Carolina in second. In the wild card spot in the East, it's now looking more like Detroit and Ottawa instead of New York and Rangers and Columbus. Columbus has been part of it the last couple times. Ottawa has kind of come up and gone away. Detroit, this is the first time I've had Detroit sitting in a wild card spot. So Columbus and the Rangers have both dropped down. There's a little bit of a gap, in my opinion. Both of those teams I'm projecting right now anyway, to finish with 92 points. And then there's a 3-point gap back to Columbus and Boston. So I'm not, that's not like that was close. But, it's interesting. I'll be real curious to see at the end of the season, how this particular analysis came out. As far as the Western Conference goes, Winnipeg, Dallas, and Minnesota. And it's been Winnipeg, Minnesota, and Dallas the whole way. Minnesota and Winnipeg have swapped spots. Dallas now has jumped ahead of Minnesota. They've normally been in the third spot. Minnesota's been kind of on a not had a very good a few games leading into the break. As far as the Pacific, we got Edmonton, Vegas, and L.A. And it's been Edmonton, Vegas, and L.A. the whole way. Edmonton, when I first did the analysis, was back in third. They've managed to pull up into first, and Vegas dropping to second. L.A. has been as high as second, but solidly in third. And the wild card teams continue to include Colorado, our opponent tonight, and now Vancouver. Vancouver has played their way at this point into a playoff position, which is new. I guess they were one of the potentials back when I started doing it, but they were like, I don't know, they were the fourth. They would have been the fourth wildcard team, but they only take two. So they pulled up. Calgary has dropped. So just a little bit of wiggle down here in the second playoff spot, second wildcard spot in both conferences, which is kind of expected. The top three teams in all four divisions seem to be the top four teams. And so that's that part of the playoff scenario. Transactions for the Predators. Number 83, defenseman Adam Wilsby, who was a restricted free agent at the end of the year, has been signed to a 2-year contract. Entry-level pay still $775 a year, but he is now out for the season. That is new over the break. He signed the contract right at the beginning of the break, and now here at the end of the break, he's considered to be out for the season. That's defenseman Adam Wilsby. Also, over the break, the Predators claimed number 5, defenseman Andreas Englund off waivers from L.A. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year, so he's $1 million on the cap and is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So we'll see how that plays out. He has only played 11 games for LA this year. He did play the full season last year. I don't think any notable stats, but that's the transaction. As far as trades go, I'm surprised how there wasn't. I thought maybe now the weekend. I thought maybe after Thursday night's game, maybe yesterday, trades would be announced. Maybe they didn't want to do a lot of trades with the games going on and detract from that spectacle. But it looks like the only trade was the one with Nashville and Vegas for left wing Grigory Denisenko for future considerations. He's at Milwaukee, so that's kind of an AHL trade there. And as far as our free agents go, it's kind of interesting. 3 of the unrestricted free agents have been moved by the Predators in the last couple of days. The 3 agents that are typically in the playing for Milwaukee. So we got Kiefer Bellows, who's come up before. So Kiefer Bellows has been recalled from Milwaukee. And for the first time, defenseman Jake Livingstone has been recalled from Milwaukee. Both of those are unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. They are both making the $775K minimum, but they are going to be unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. And then number 32, goalie Matthew Murray, who is also $775K, an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. He has been recalled as a practice player. So may not, probably won't see him in a game unless somebody gets injured, but he has been called up. He's been called up before, but that must have been the same situation where he was called up for practice. And that's the free agent watch. For the opponents, the Preds are playing their 10th back-to-back. Both teams are in playoff positions, and both are also playing back-to-backs, as I said. The 4 teams that the Preds are playing at this homestand are all in playoff positions. You've got Florida and Winnipeg coming in on Tuesday and Thursday. Those are at 7 o'clock, so regular time for those. Next Saturday, we'll get to this later. Well, it's an away game, but that's at 11:30 in the morning. So get up, have your coffee, and turn on hockey. So tonight's team that we're playing is Colorado. It is the last time we are going to be playing Colorado this year. So it's the last game of 4. I think last year we played them 3 times. This year we play them 4. Nashville is 1-2 against Colorado this year, and the home team has held serve. The Preds beat Colorado 5-2 here in Nashville, lost 3-2 or 2-3 in overtime in Colorado, and then 2-5. Last year they only played 3, and the home team did win all of them. Played 2 in Nashville, so Nashville won those 2, 4-3, 5-1, and lost 4-7 in Colorado. So hopefully that trend will stick around, and the Preds will pick up the victory tonight. Colorado is 33-22-2 overall. They are 17-12-0 away, no overtime losses. They are 4th in the Central with 68 points, 2 points behind Minnesota, who has played 1 less, and 11 points ahead of Utah. So pretty good gap between them and the next in the Central. Utah has played 1 less game. They are currently in the number 1 wild card position, 5 points ahead of Vancouver, who has played 2 less games. They are tied for the lowest overtime losses in the league with 2. They're tied with Dallas and Toronto. And they are one of 3 teams without an overtime loss on the road. Seattle and Winnipeg are the other 2 teams. That's pretty rare territory there. I'm hoping that Colorado comes out of tonight's game with a loss. I'd rather not be in overtime, but I'll take the win for the Preds, regardless. For Colorado, depending on how you want to count it, it's either a 2-game or a 5-game road trip. They did enter the break on a 3-game road trip, and I know I did have a little bit of disagreement with the announcers. One of the Predators road trips as to whether it was 5 games or 6 games. It was 6 consecutive road games, so it would be a 6-game road trip, in my opinion. They kept calling it 5, and The first game being in St. Louis, I guess they could go to St. Louis and come home and then go on the 5-game because they did go up into Canada and they didn't return back to Nashville and during those 5 games, but still 6 games on the road. But I am going to say that because of the 2-week break, it is not a 5-game road trip. It is a 2-game road trip. So we'll just call this the first game of their 2-game road trip, which is also a back-to-back. They will play St. Louis tomorrow night. It is their 8th back-to-back. It is their 8th back-to-back. Colorado. Right. And it is their 8th back-to-back. They have only played 3 games at home in these back-to-backs. So they played 7 back-to-backs previously and all on the road. The first one was a home and home, and then the next one was on the road in Dallas and then home versus Edmonton, and then every other back-to-back has been on the road. Just going through here, none of those they had to cross the border, but in the back-to-back, so that's good for them. They are 9-5 overall in their back-to-backs, 8-3 on the road, since most of them are on the road, and all the road losses were in the front half of their back-to-back, losing to Dallas, Chicago, and Boston. So that is good news for Nashville. There's a lot of, maybe this is all bad. There's so much history here that says the Preds should come away with a win tonight. Well, there you go. Colorado did have 2 weeks off, but they had 4 players who played in the 4 Nations tournament. And they had 3 that played for Canada, McKinnon, Makar, and Toes. And then for Finland, Laakkonen played for Finland. As for New Jersey, whom we will be playing tomorrow night. Yeah, that's right. This is Saturday. Rare for me to do a Saturday podcast. Usually I do it on Friday, but my wife's out of town, so I figured, well, what the heck? If I do it on Friday or Saturday, it doesn't matter. So it's Saturday. So tonight's game is Colorado. Tomorrow night's game is against New Jersey. This is the second game of 2 versus New Jersey. We're 0-1 against them, losing 2-5 in New Jersey. Last year, the visiting team won both. Nashville lost 2-4 in Nashville and then won in a shootout 3-2 in New Jersey. So this seems to be switching. Hopefully that the trend just switched. New Jersey is 31-20-6. They are 16-11-2 on the road. They are 3rd in the Metropolitan with 68 points, 2 points behind Carolina, who has played 1 less, and 8 points ahead of not Colorado. I didn't update that. Columbus. Yes, Columbus. COL is Colorado. CBJ is the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets have played 1 less game than the Devils. So there's a decent gap between 3rd and 4th in that division. They play Dallas tonight and then Nashville. They'll play Dallas at home tonight and then come to Nashville tomorrow to start their 5-game road trip. This is their 9th back-to-back, the 6th split between home and away. 2 previous were home first, and in these games they are 6-9-1 overall, 4-5-1 in the ones that are split between home and away. 2-2 with the first split being at home, and then both wins were at home against Utah and Carolina. The losses were to Carolina and Carolina. Yet one of their back-to-backs, home and away, was Carolina and Carolina. And they won at home and lost on the road. So that's pretty good. And, hopefully these trends all continue. That's why they play the games, though. New Jersey also had 4 players playing in the Four Nations. They had forward Erik Haula, played for Finland. 2 played for Sweden, which I'm not exactly sure about. I didn't go look at the box score because I don't care. But for Sweden, they Jesper Bratt and Jakob Markstrom, forward Bratt and goalie Markstrom, were scheduled to play for Sweden. Markstrom has been injured since about the middle of January, so I don't think he played. And then for the USA, forward Jack Hughes. So we can extol Jack Hughes and the Four Nations, and that's it. Okay. Notable personnel changes for these teams. For ex-Nashville Predator Scott Wedgwood, goalie Scott Wedgwood, is day-to-day. He is expected back today. Nothing notable, nothing noted today on whether he is returned. He is 5-3-0 with Colorado. He was 1-2-1 at Nashville. Also out is number 42 defenseman Josh Manson. He was day-to-day. He is now out. He's not expected until the 26th. He has the 3rd worst plus-minus. That's his notable stat. Too bad he's not playing. Number 13, right wing Valery Nishishkin, expected back on the 26th as well. He has 17 points in 21 games. 17 points in 21 games, and his shooting percentage is 21.2. So that's pretty good. He, like I said, he has not played that many games, but 17 points in 21 games is pretty good. And 21.2% shooting percentage is pretty good. So, I don't mind him not playing. Number 92, left wing Gabriel Landeskog, long-term injured reserve. They say, I was not even going to mention him, but they're saying he's still expected back today. But I'm not sure I believe it. Another thing notable, because I don't think he's played that much this season. Normally Landeskog would have pretty good stats, good player, but he's been out for a while. And unfortunately, number 8, defenseman Cale Makar is off injured reserve. He was day-to-day. He is back. He's 3rd in goals, 2nd in assists, and 2nd in shots. So Cale Makar is back and should be playing tonight. And as far as transaction goes, on the 8th, they loaned goalie Trent Miner to the Colorado Eagles, and he was called up on the 1st. That reminds me, I did not look up the Utica AHL or let's see. And I like to do this. I hate to do this while I'm recording. Utica Comets. Okay. And I guess I'm getting to this a little bit. Okay, the Thunder. Okay, cool. Okay, so I hate to do that kind of stuff while I'm recording, but so as far as New Jersey goes, which is why that little commentary was, I saw the Colorado Eagles goalie Trent Miner loaned to the Colorado Eagles for the Colorado Avalanche. For New Jersey, personnel changes. They've got 3 people on injured reserve. Defenseman Jonas Siegenthaler, no notable stats. He's expected back in March. Nico Hischier, expected back today. Did not see anything. Number 13, center Nico Hischier. He's tied for 1st in goals. He's been out since the 6th, which I guess doesn't miss too many games, but he's tied for 1st in goals, and he's expected to be back. He's not listed as oft injured reserve, but it's still early in the day. And then goalie Jakob Markstrom is now on injured reserve. He was listed as out, so I guess that's a upgrade. He's expected back in March. He's 21-9-5, starting goaltender for New Jersey, and so he's out until March 7th. That might be a problem for New Jersey. I guess we'll see how that goes. As far as transactions, a number of people called up, pushed down. For example, forward Chase Stillman was reassigned to Utica. The Utica Comets, right? The Utica Comets. Yep. And he was recalled on the 18th and then reassigned on the 20th. So go figure. No games happened during that, but I guess he got to practice with the team. I don't know. And on the 20th, goalie Tyler Brennan, 3 goaltenders were part of these transactions for New Jersey. I guess they're trying to figure out what to do with Markstrom out. But they reassigned goalie Tyler Brennan back to the Adirondack Thunder. They have a Viking-looking person as their icon, the Thunder, like a Thor character, maybe. I don't know. But that's an ECHL team. Utica is an AHL team, but they reassigned him, and then on the 20th they recalled goalie Nico Dawes from Utica, and on the 18th they recall goalie Seamus Casey from Utica. They also, on the 18th, recalled Simon Nemec and Tyler Brennan, 2 defensemen. So they're kind of looks like they're not exactly sure what they're going to be doing on defense or in goal, although it looks pretty obvious. Or I'm looking at their schedule, but the people to watch for Colorado and New Jersey. Number 62, left-wing Arturi Lekkinen for the Colorado, first in goals with 23. Cale Makar, as I mentioned, number 8, defenseman Cale Makar is second with 22. Nathan McKinnon, number 29, Nathan McKinnon is first in assists and first in points by a wide margin. He's first in assists with 66. 66 assists. Now, just the first in points for New Jersey is 65 in points. McKinnon has 66 assists. Second on the team is Cale Makar with 41. So a 25-point gap in assists between McKinnon in first and Makar in second. So Makar is second in goals, second in assists, and second in points. And McKinnon being first in assists with that big of a margin also has a 24-point margin on points. So definitely somebody to watch. The plus minuses look pretty good. Lekkinen is 24, McKinnon 19. And the only person notable in shooting percentage, and I guess this is pretty spectacular, number 62, Lekkinen, has a 23% shooting percentage. He's first in goals with 23. What do you know? He's got 100 shots. That makes the math pretty easy. 100 shots, 23 goals, and first in plus minus at 24. So very, very, very dangerous player there. And the only other person I called out was because he's minus 13. The lowest person in plus minus is minus 13, Casey Middlestat, number 37. Interesting. They had this trade where they traded a couple guys, and Rantanen, who they traded to Carolina, actually leads the team in goals with 25, even though he's not with the team. Lekkinen is first in 23. McKinnon is second in penalty minutes, but first is 44. So McKinnon is 29 penalty minutes, and that's second on the team. So that doesn't look like they take a lot of penalties. And Yeah, I guess the guy first in shooting percentage has only played 9 games. So Laakkonen being second in the team in shooting percentage at 23, the guy who's in first has only played 9 games. So really, and he's 50% with 1 goal and 2 shots. So I don't really count that. So the people to watch for Colorado: 62, 8, and 29. Left wing Laakkonen, 62, and then defenseman Makar, who's also first in time on ice, so you'll see him out there a lot, 25, almost 26 minutes. So number 8, defenseman Cale Makar, and number 29, McKinnon, center McKinnon. So 62, 29, and 8. For New Jersey, it's a little easier. You got number 86, center Jack Hughes, who's first in goals with 24, tied, actually, I guess, with number 13, center Nico Hischier. And Hischier is also third on the team in shooting percentage at 17, 141 shots on 20 with 24 goals. Hughes first on the team in shooting at 206, and first in. Interesting thing with him, he's first in time on ice for the team. So usually it's a defenseman, but it's Jack Hughes is first on time on ice, 20 minutes, 54 seconds. So number 86 and number 13, Hughes and Hischier, both centers. First in assists is left wing Jesper Bratt. He's second in points, so I guess maybe 63 too. Didn't have any other really notable stats. But 86, 13, and 63. For your Nashville Predators, the Predators are now 19, 28, and 7. At home, they have a winning record, 13, 10, and 3. The Preds are 7th in the Central Division with 45 points, 4 points ahead of Chicago, who has played 1 more, 10 points behind St. Louis, who has played 2 more. These 2 games are the first of 4 at home, Florida on Tuesday and Winnipeg Thursday, all teams currently in playoff positions. Then they go 3 on the road, starting with the 2 New York teams back-to-back, Saturday the Islanders and Sunday the Rangers. And then Tuesday in Boston. The Preds had 3 players that didn't have the break. They played in the 4 Nations. UC Saros, who got shelled, playing for Finland against U.S., and Sweden had Forsberg and Nyquist. So they didn't have to play as many games as the players that played Canada and USA. I guess really 1 game more, but so those players didn't really get a break. Saros played the first game and got shelled by the U.S. and then backed up Lankin, and he did play half of 1 game. But yeah, it was not really what you're looking for. Personnel changes. Got a few here. Evangelista is still day-to-day, expected back today. Roast hasn't played all season, still expected back today. I don't expect either of them back today. Zachary Herrera is now day-to-day. That put on injured reserve yesterday, expected back March 4th. He's second on the team in penalty minutes with 52. And then also now, number 83 defenseman Adam Wilsby is out for the season. And also out for the season, number 3 defenseman Jeremy Lauzon. So 2 defensemen out for the season now after this break. Good news, number 17 left wing Mark Jankowski has been activated from injured reserve. And then other transactions, number 5 defenseman Andreas Englund picked up on waivers. And right before the break or right after the break, beginning of the break, the Preds sent a number of people down to Milwaukee. Defenseman Kevin Gravel, right wing Joachim Kemmel, and right wing Ozzy Weisblatt. All those were sent down to Milwaukee. And as I mentioned in the transactions, left wing Kiefer Bellows and defenseman Jake Livingstone have been recalled from Milwaukee. So I'm expecting to see Jake Livingstone in the lineup. I'm probably, I think probably we'll see England before we see Livingstone, but I guess we will see. People to watch, the standard bunch: Forsberg, Marchessault, Rosie, Yossi, Riley, and Stamkos. Blankenberg remains the top in plus minus with 9, and the other players that are above 0, Wilsby, Gravel, and Weisblatt, are no longer playing for this team. Wilsby is out for the season, and then Weisblatt and Gravel have been sent to Milwaukee. So active people playing for the Preds, only one player with a positive plus minus. Everybody's stats has kind of go down. The shooting percentages was kind of sad, updating all those. Svechkov has dropped to 60s, He leads the team with 16%. O'Reilly is second, 16%, and Stamkos just under 15%. It was kind of sad updating that kind of stuff, but that's where they're at. Okay. Oh, so let's talk about the stats. Let's talk about the Predators at home. I've got this new stat, the difference in goal scoring. Hopefully I remember to mention that. Did a little bit of analysis here, looking at the delta in goal scoring between the second and the third period, based upon what happened in the first period, and saw some interesting numbers here. But let's just keep going on here. First goal of the game. As I said before the break, since they finished after December 12th, they started playing better and then stopped playing better and played worse, or back to 500. So I'm no longer discussing that. So we're looking at the overall, and overall for the season, for the first goal, if the Preds get the first goal, they are 14-7-5. So that's pretty good, a 2-1 advantage. If they do not, they are 5-21-2, so 4-1 if they do not get it. And that pretty much hangs forward on whether it's in the first period or the second period. And as far as home goes, the home records, similarly, the Preds at home are 9-4-3 when they get the first goal, which is great. 2-1 advantage there for the Preds. And if they do not, 4-6, which is not telling. If the first goal happens in the first period and the other team gets it, the Preds are 2-4. So a 2-1 advantage for the team, the opponents in Nashville, if they get the first goal in the first period, and in the first goal happens in the second period and the other team gets it, the Preds are 2-2. So it's kind of a toss-up if the first goal happens in the second period if the other team gets it. The Preds have only gotten the first goal in the second period once this season, and they lost that game. So that's not good. If they get it in the first period, they're 9-3-3. So definitely a winning record at home if they get the first goal in the first period. And if they don't, they're better off if the other team gets it in the second, is what that looks like. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good records. And by period at home, the Preds are winning the first period 13 times. They're 13-4-9 in the first period at home. The second period, they're 9-12-5, continuing their problems in the second period. And then 12-10-4 in the third period. So not stellar not stellar from any standpoint in the third period, but the second period is not so great. Looking at the correlation, so okay, if they win, what does that mean? So when the 13 times that they have won the first period at home, they're 9-4, which is similar to the first goal status there. So they're 9-4. When they lose the first period at home, they're 1-3, and when they tie the first period at home, they're 3-6. So the only winning record they've got is if they win the first period, and then in the second period, the 9 times that they won the second period, they're 8-1. So that's very strong. When they lose the second period, they're 3-9, and when they tie the second period, they're 2-3. So that's at least the second period. Ties don't look so bad. The third period also 11-1 when they win it, 1-9 when they lose it, and 1-3 when they don't. So that's how things correlate. I guess taking out the empty nets that I like to do in the third period. If you take out the empty nets, the Preds have won the third period 8 times, and the record being 7-1. When they lose the third period, they're 2-6, and when they tie it, they're 4-6. So it doesn't look very much better when they lose or tie the third period. You win all 3 periods, you win the game. But it definitely looks like the Preds are better off to get the first goal and win the first period. And winning the first, winning the second has happened 5 times. Won all 5 of those games. Generally, if you win 2 periods, you win the game. A couple of exclusions, but in general, that holds. Fourth, when they lose the first and win the second, they are 2-2-1. That's happened 5 times. And then 6 times they tied the first and won the second, and they won all 6 of those games. So that's another scenario that works out pretty well. That's overall very similar at home, 5 times. Oh, interesting. So all 5 times that they win the first, win the second, have been at home. That hasn't happened on the road. And when they lose the first and win the second at home, that's happened twice, and they're 1-1, and tied the first, won the second, and they're 2-0. So winning the second period really improves, if they've lost, and improves things. I guess the other place where they've got a decent record, if they win the first and lose the second, again, that's happened 5 times as well, and they're 2-1-2 in those games. When they tie the first and lose the second, they're 1-5. Not really much of a surprise there. And then when they tie the second period at home, it looks like they've only won 2 of those games. So. And they had to win the first period to do it. And when they tie the first and tie the second, they're 0-1 at home. So that's not terribly. It's tough looking at this stuff and trying to figure out where the Preds. I mean, these are the trends. This is what they're doing, and that's all fair and good. I mean, you'd like to be able to see where. Where they could, signs of optimism, I guess. And it looks like getting the first goal is the optimistic sign. As far as what period the winning goal is being scored, it's still looking pretty solid in the second period overall, 37%. But it's starting to trend where it was last year. And last year, the trend was for when the home team won, the home team would get the winning goal in the second period. And when the visiting team won, they would get the winning goal in the third. And so that was true. The home team won 50% of the time last season. They got the winning goal in the second period. And when the visiting team won 43% of the time, the winning goal was scored in the third period. And that is starting to come forward because it's the winning goal. It was solidly in the second period for all scenarios, and that's starting to change. The third period is starting to get more traction, and in fact, we saw it in the last few home games. And so 35% of the time now, the winning goal is being scored in the third period. When the Preds get the winning goal, 38% of the time it's in the third period. And the visiting team, it's still split 31% in the second and third. As far as the home team versus the road team winning, it's still solidly the second period. When the home team wins this season, 34% of the time it's happening in the second, but it is 29% in the third, so close. And then the road team, 42% of the time scoring the winning goal in the second period versus 32% in the third. So that is over the last few games started to change, which is kind of interesting. Interesting things to look at. Let's continue to talk about the home record here and look at the Preds in goal scoring. So in goal scoring in the first period, the Preds are looking pretty good. They're outscoring their opponents 28-19. Even when they lose, they are outscoring the opponents. Now it's 13-12. But still outscoring when they win 15-8. The second period, they are outscored 23-30 at home. When they win 15-11, so a little bit of an advantage there. And when they lose 8-19, so they're outscored by 11 at home when they lose, which gets worse in the third period. Wow. It's overall. At home, 30 goals in the third period to 29 being given up, so one goal differential. But the winning team is was 16 and 17 goals different. So at home, when the Preds have lost, they've got 5 goals in the third period, and when they win, the opponents have 8 versus 25 for the Preds when they win and 21. So huge delta there in goals scored. Now, granted, there are 18 of those goals are empty nets, right? So taking out the empty net goals just to kind of get a better sense of where the teams are playing without pulling the goaltender, the Preds are losing in the third period by 20 goals to 21. And there's still a big delta between winning and losing. So when the Preds win, taking out their 10 empty nets, it's 15-8, so almost double. And then when they lose at home, it's almost triple, 5 goals to 13, so 8 empty net goals. So the scoring in the third period is crazy with regards to being an indicator, I suppose, of who's going to win the game. And now, everything kind of depends on how you got there, right? So definitely big differences between the scoring in the third period and who's going to win. So the differences in goal scoring when the Preds are winning. This is overall. I have not broken this out by home and away. When the Preds are winning in the third period, they outscore the opponents 22-13. When the second period, when the Preds are winning, they get outscored 14-23. The second period, they're just getting outscored no matter what. If they're winning, if they come into the second period and they're winning, they're tied, or they're losing, they get outscored in the second period in every scenario. If they're losing, it's the best of the three scenarios because they only get outscored by 3 in the second period when they come into the second period losing. But they're being outscored by 9 when they're tied 21-30, and then if they're winning 14-23. And so I think, the only scenario where they are outscoring the opponents is if they are winning coming into the third period. That's it. And they outscore the opponents 22-13. If they're tied or if they're losing in the third period, they're outscored 6-12 if they're tied, 21-34 if they're losing. So the only scenario where they outscore their opponents in the second or third period is in the third period if they enter the third period winning. Now, that's just sad. I don't know what made me think about that, but I started looking, okay, where are we at? And wow. The only scenario of the second, third period overall, if the Preds win is when they outscore their opponents is if the third period, if they were winning entering the third period. Otherwise, in the second and third period, they're being outscored in every situation. Really should break that out by home and away, but it was, so that's kind of so sad looking at that in general that I guess I just decided I'd had enough of looking at that. All right, let's get away from that spreadsheet and let's take a look at these three teams, Colorado, New Jersey, and Nashville, and let's talk about their scoring, their goal scoring. Talked a little bit about it already for the Preds, but let's see here. The goal scoring, Colorado is tonight. Goals for, the Colorado is fifth in the league in goal scoring with scoring 185 goals. Not so much in the first period. They're 12th in the league, only getting 49 in the first period. And then ramping it up, they're fourth in the league in scoring in the third period, scoring 72 goals. Now, giving up goals, they are 11th in the league in giving up goals as well, giving up 173. So they do have a 12-goal positive differential between giving up and what they're scoring. They give up 60 goals in the first period, which is fourth in the league. So they are one of the most generous teams in the league in giving up goals in the first period. 51 in the second period puts them 18th in the league, and 61 in the third puts them 16th in the league. So they get about mid-pack in the second and third period on being scored on. So they, 61 in the third period is higher than 60, it's interesting how the goal scoring goes up as the game goes on. I guess that makes kind of sense, especially the third period. You get the pulled goaltender. It's easier to score somewhat without a goaltender. But that's Colorado. Now, New Jersey, on the other hand, 11th in the league in scoring, 174 points, but they are 28th in the league in giving up. So 140, they've only given up 141 goals, so they are stingy. They are stingy. They have a 33-goal differential, positive differential between goals for and goals against. In scoring goals, they don't score in the first period. The 30th in the league in scoring in the first period, only having scored 37 goals in the first period, but jump up to second in the league in the second, scoring 70. And then eighth in the league in the third period, scoring 64. So a lot of goals scored in the second and third period. They do not score, league-wide. The Preds score more goals in the first period than New Jersey. So they are 28th in the league in giving up goals. They give up 42, 42, and 52. So pretty even. The 42 in the second period makes them 30th in the league, one of the harder teams to score against. And then 26th, 52 is 26th in the league for New Jersey. So they are a team that does not, compared to other teams in the league, they're a team that does not give up a lot of goals. So where does that put the Preds? The Preds are 31st in the league in goal scoring and 10th in being scored against. They last in the league in scoring in the third period with 49 goals. They're very even, 46, 46, and 49 scoring goals. And then in giving up goals, 46, 66, and 60. So most they're sixth in the league in giving up goals in the second period, which is not a good stat because New Jersey is second in the league in scoring in the second period. Not a very good combination of statistics for Nashville coming up tomorrow night's game. Interesting, right? Because Colorado gives up more goals, and as far as the league goes, they're fourth in the first period, and then they get stingy, even though they give up more goals, right? But not one of the better goal-scoring teams in the first. So, not really. That should be. Colorado is going to be. Nashville's kind of a tough opponent for Colorado, so I think that's going to be a very competitive game. Given the stats, looking at things in the second period, expect the second period to be really ugly for the Predators tomorrow night. As far as penalty situations go, New Jersey is fourth in the league in the power play and third in the penalty kill. So not a team that you want to commit a penalty against. The Preds seem to be running into these teams and committing a lot of penalties. New Jersey is fourth in the league, 27%. So a little better than 1 in 4. They've scored 44 goals on 160 attempts versus the Preds, who's 16th, and Colorado's 17th in the power play. So right about the same. They're both 21. Colorado's 21.3. Nashville's 21.4. Colorado scored 36 goals on 169 opportunities, and the Preds 33 on 154. So the power play for Colorado and Nashville fairly similar as far as success rates. New Jersey definitely the better team, and also the better team when it comes to the penalty kill. They're third in the league at 84%, only giving up 25 goals on 158 opportunities. And the Preds have, were better, have slowly dropped to 11th in the league in the penalty kill at 80.9%, 31 goals against and 162 opportunities. Colorado is 16th in the league, so right middle of the pack at 79.6%. So 1.3% worse than the Preds. 30 goals on 147 opportunities. So they've given up about the same number of goals, but haven't been on the penalty kill as much. So, As far as the, I took out the matchups. So I kind of talk about the matchups when I go through talk about the goaltender. So I always kind of felt like that segment was a little goofy. So the goaltenders for tomorrow night, tonight and tomorrow night. Colorado, Mackenzie Blackwood, 14-6-2, gets most of the starts with Scott Wedgwood, 5-3, backing him up. Wedgwood is is listed on injured reserve, so I'm not exactly sure. But for the last game, looking at the goals or the games this year against Colorado, Blackwood was in goal for the last game. It was a 5-2 win for Colorado. Before that, and Noonan was in goal in Nashville for the loss, for Colorado's loss. And Georgiev was in goal the other time in Colorado for the 3-2 win in overtime. So we have played Colorado 3 times, and every time has been a different goaltender this year. It's funny because Blackwood played for the Preds, and then Noonan now plays for the Preds. Last year, when we played Colorado 3 times, Georgiev was in goal for the first 2, which were both losses, and Noonan was in goal for the last one, which was a win. So a win for Colorado. So Noonan was in goal last year for the 1 win that Colorado had, and Georgiev was in goal for the 2 losses. Blackwood has started the last 7 games with Wedgwood on injured reserve. Trent Miner, 0-1-0, has been in backup. If Wedgwood comes off injured reserve, he could be in goal. Blackwood has played both sides of a back-to-back. The back-to-back they had going into the break, he played both games. So I expect, regardless of whether Wedgwood comes off injured reserve or not, I expect to see Blackwood in goal tonight. As far as New Jersey, Jakob Markstrom, 21-9-5, gets most of the starts, but is out sometime into March. Jake Allen is 9-11-1 and gets the starting duties with Markstrom out. Nico Dawes has been backing him up, and he did get called back up, so I expect to see those two playing, Allen and Dawes. Earlier this year when we played New Jersey, Markstrom was in goal for their 5-2 win. Last year, Dawes was in goal for the win against Nashville, the 4-2 win in Nashville, and Allen was in goal for the loss, which was a 3-2 shootout win in New Jersey. Allen's game was also a back-to-back, and Nashville was in the back. They played Ottawa. They were at Ottawa in the first game, and then played Nashville. Allen played both, and he was 1-1. So they have shown that they could play Allen, the backup, in consecutive games in back-to-back situations. Dawes' game was also in a back-to-back with Nashville on the back end. They started against Seattle. Dawes also played them both and went 2-0. So New Jersey does show that they play both Allen and Dawes. I mean, they were both in goal last year as backups and played in back-to-back situations, and both of them played both. So I guess that gives them a lot of flexibility in what they can do this weekend with Markstrom out. Allen did start the last 2 before the break. So my guess is Allen will be in goal versus Dallas tonight, and Dawes will be in goal versus Nashville. For Nashville, UC Saros, 11-23-6, is playing 2 or 3 for Justice Anunen's game. He is 7-3-0. Saros was in goal for all 3 versus Colorado and this year, and versus New Jersey this year. So he has played all 4 games against these 2 teams. Last year, Saros was in goal for the first 2 versus Colorado. Both of those were in Nashville, so he went 2-0, and Lankinen got the loss in Colorado. Last year for New Jersey, Saros was in goal for both, so he went 1-1. As far as Anunen last year playing for Colorado, he was in goal for a 3-5 loss at New Jersey. Colorado was 1-1 versus New Jersey last year, so Anunen was in goal for the loss versus New Jersey. For Nashville, Anunen got the last start going into the break. In the 4 Nations, Saros did give up 6 goals in the 1-6 loss to the U.S. Then he backed up Lankinen in the 4-3 overtime win versus Sweden. He did come in relief of Lankinen in the 3-5 loss to Canada and did not give up any goals. So I am kind of, because Annunen used to play for Colorado, I'm just expecting to see Annunen in goal tonight, and then Saros versus the Devils. Now that's your goaltenders, and we'll see how that plays out. As far as momentum goes, yeah, that's, with having the break, it's hard to say that anybody has momentum, good or bad. Colorado had won their last 2, 5-5 in the last 10. New Jersey won their last game, 5-5 in the last 10. Nashville won their last game after a 6-game losing streak and 4-6 in the last 10. So all these teams, roughly about the same record in the last 10, all won at least their last game. But then they've had this break, right? So it's can't really say anybody has momentum. It'll be interesting to see how these teams come back. A lot of times having breaks is detrimental. You see that in the playoffs sometimes when a team sweeps another team and the other team goes 7, the team that swept the previous series comes in, they look rusty. So it could be pretty rusty tonight. Just looking at the stats, I know Colorado's in a playoff position. I know they're a good team. I think it's going to be an even matchup, and the rust is just going to contribute to it being an even matchup tonight. Again, tonight, number 62, number 8, and 29, Lankinen, Makar, and McKinnon. And then as far as New Jersey goes, Hischier is back off IR. They've just had this break, so I expect them to be jumping. And if the Preds can get the first goal and hold tight in the second period, I think they can come out of it with a win. Again, the players to watch against New Jersey, number 86, 13, and 63. I'm not exactly sure how to make any of that easy to to remember. Hughes, Hischier, and Bratt. Center 86, center Hughes, 13, center Hischier, and 63, left wing Bratt. So that's your players to watch. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed your break and the new stat that I came up with. I should sit down and later today break it out by home and away. Hopefully it won't be that depressing. But yeah, so welcome back tonight at 5 o'clock and tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. The Nashville Predators welcome to Nashville. Icy conditions, which Colorado and New Jersey, it's not probably not really Colorado for sure. Snow? That's not snow. You don't know snow. We know snow. So anyway, icy Nashville welcomes Colorado Avalanche tonight and the New Jersey Devils tomorrow night. The Predators are back after the break, and it's a new season. So thanks for listening. I'm Preston Proctor, and you've been listening to Predators Proclivity.